Georgia. And getting things underway, Berzon starts off this game with a strike, and obviously time always plays a factor into how teams come out after the weather delay. Berzon, though, quickly getting off to a great start, ahead 0-2.
And then the first two pitches of this at-bat, you're going to see what you'll look for Sydney Berzon when she's out there in the circle. She's going to throw that drop ball, but also mix in that off-speed pitch that has a little bit of upspin to it. Going to be keeping an eye on the depth that she's able to get on that drop ball that she'll throw with really good velocity in the high 60s consistently. She'll throw that ball to both sides of the plate. She has that off-speed rise ball and a changeup. So it's not just one off-speed pitch that you're looking for, but she really throws three speeds consistently out there in the circle.
Berzon right now working on Quincy Lelio, one of the transfers coming into this South Carolina program. The 1-2 count to Lelio. And trying to work that outside part of the plate. Ball 2. Lelio, who came in from Oklahoma after winning 3 national championships with the Sooners. And that is a called strike 3. So Berzon strikes out the first batter she faces of this game.
And it's a strikeout against a batter that is one of the toughest batters in the SEC to strike out. That was Lelio's 4th strikeout on the entire season. She goes with that off-speed pitch a little bit further up in the zone and gets that call up and outside for strike number 3.
Carly Shelton takes that ball outside. It's 1-0. Shelton, who comes in with an 8-game hitting streak. For this South Carolina program, we mentioned first season under head coach Ashley Chastain Woodard. Her group is looking to get off to a fast start here in Baton Rouge as Shelton grounds out to first to retire.
It'll be interesting to see how South Carolina's bats adjust to what they're seeing from Berzon in the circle, because typically when you're facing a drop ball pitcher, you know that she's going to try to induce a lot of those ground ball outs. So you're thinking maybe head coach actually Chastain Woodard's offense is going to try to look to get their barrels underneath some of those pitches, but that's when that rise ball, that off-speed rise ball, becomes the equalizer for that game plan, because if you're able to get underneath the drop ball, that means you're going to be underneath the rise ball. So you almost have to pick one or the other that you're going to go after.
Getting off to quick starts. First pitch strikes for Berzon and a couple of batters she's faced thus far at the plate. Ariana Rohde, one of those terrific additions to this program for South Carolina. Takes that one outside for ball 1. Rohde, who is a native of Rhode Island, led the 49ers, came over with her head coach here to South Carolina, and now Rohde puts this one on the ground. Over to shortstop, and Avery Hodge retires that batter. 3 up, 3 down for South Carolina. The year, a season ago, and she starts things off for the Gamecocks in the circle in this 3-game series. And 10th game of the season that she started. You see her ERA on the season, 2.63, just over 45 innings pitch. And she is going to be tested with this dangerous and balanced lineup, very potent for Beth Torena. You think about Danica Coffey, who leads things off coming back after injury. Jayla Lassiter, who has looked outstanding this season.
And so many lefties, too, in this LSU lineup. That's something that Neely Lamb's going to have to continue to adjust to. Look at the bottom half of the lineup. Lefty, 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 lefty. And all of these lefties for LSU are looking to try to use the defense to their advantage in any way that they can.
The 1-2 to Danica Coffey. Now, Coffey is one of those batters who leads off for LSU. She's reached safely in all but 2 games this season. She had her streak of 29 games on bases broken last weekend against Georgia, but this is a tough out to start things off and a great table setter for one of the most prolific offenses in the nation.
And she can do a little bit of everything, too. You're seeing her in this at-bat stepping through the batter's box looking to slap it. She can swing away. She can drop a bunt. And she's already making Neely Lamb work out there, just the first batter that she's faced today.
5th-year senior punches it through the 5-6 hold, and she's aboard with the leadoff hit.
So hard to defend somebody like Danica Coffey because she can do a little bit of everything and she can power slap through the box too. So that's something that this defense for South Carolina is going to continue to adjust throughout this ball game. You can see her eyes on this ball the entire time, power slapping through the zone, just hitting it hard out to left field to get something going for this LSU offense.
So Jayla Lassiter at the plate after a very hot weekend in that series over Georgia, leading this Tiger offense at 505 RBI. And the junior outfielder awaits the pitch. Gets a piece of that one, fouls it off. I'm going to ask too this question because you mentioned something about speed, right? So how does Danica Coffey put pressure on the defense? How do these base runners put pressure on the defense when they face off?
I think you're seeing it already too, just by the way that the infield defense is having to play now that Danica Coffey is over there at first base. They're having to shift where they're playing defensively. Brooke Blankenship, the shortstop for South Carolina, you're going to notice her after every pitch going over to second base to cover. And it looks like here, right as we're talking about it, they're flipping the defense. So now you've got second baseman Carly Shelton covering second base in case Danica Coffey decides to steal. So just those little things, you're putting the defense just slightly out of position of where they would normally be if that speed is not a factor. And the constant communication too, because we just saw mid at bat, they decided to flip the coverage at second base.
The 2-2 takes that one inside, and probably because it was 2 strikes, they maybe made that adjustment. But also, let's note that the Gamecocks have a great defense, especially those middle infielders, in turning double plays.
They can turn double plays up the middle. South Carolina has turned 18 double plays so far this season. That's good for second best in the SEC.
Lassiter remains disciplined there, draws the walk, so 2 aboard, no out for the Tigers. And already Lamb finding herself in a little jam to start off the bottom half of the inning.
At times when South Carolina's pitching has struggled this year, it's usually because those free passes and those walks start to add up very quickly. And you're seeing LSU, it seems like their game plan, at least through the first 2 batters of this ball game, is to really work Neely Lamb in the circle and make her throw a lot of pitches.
Macy Barzeron at the plate takes strike 1. And one of the things that you think about with this lineup for LSU, you've got Barzeron and then Tori Edwards. So the Smash sisters back to back.
That's where that speed at the top becomes another element that South Carolina is going to have to deal with, because then it sets the table for your powerful hitters in your lineup like Barzeron and like Tori Edwards. But you still have that threat of the speed out there with Danica Coffey. So because of that, Brooke Blankenship is still playing over towards third base. Barzeron having a great season, batting nearly 500 with runners in scoring position. Just seems like LSU steps their game up when runners are on base.
We try to underscore, hey, why is this team so good? I mean, when you look at the numbers and how they rank within Division I and the NCAA, I mean, on the top batting average, this group knows how to get on base, but they know what to do when those runners are on base. The 1-2 pitch on the way from Lamb. That one gets by Winters, and so that's going to advance the runners to second and third on the wild pitch.
Lamb trying to utilize some of these off-speed pitches, the changeups that are just missing a bit too far down in the dirt. And I'd imagine that head coach Beth Tarina has to be happy with this quick start so far. 2 runners now in scoring position with nobody out.
Beth Tarina knows nothing but success here at LSU program. All-time wins leader. And continues to see her team hit rockets out of the ballpark. And this is a tough place to hit them. But home sweet home. 8th home run for Macy Bergeron.
The way that Macy Bergeron's able to take some of the pitches that are down in the dirt, get her way back into this count. It's a 2-2 pitch that she sees here. Neely Lamb trying to work her inside, trying to get that pitch up in the zone. Bergeron gets that front foot down and just explodes with her hands, pulling that ball to the left side. A line drive home run out to left field to put the Tigers up early.
And a nice welcome at home play from her teammates, as we talked about the Smash sisters, Bergeron among them. She and Tori Edwards have combined for 19 of this team's 27 home runs this season.
And I think it's fun, too, looking at both of their swings. And when you look at Bergeron and that home run she just hit, a prime example, she is going to pull the ball with such authority to the left side. And then you have to face somebody like Tori Edwards that has so much power to the opposite field. She hit a home run against Kentucky, I guess it's been about 2 weeks ago now, that came over 80 miles per hour off of her bat. And that line drive maybe got about 6 feet off of the ground and made its way all the way out to center field. Just such a powerful swing.
Redshirt freshman out of Flower Mound, Texas. I mean, we got a chance to take a look at her and the batting cages before today's game. And I'm going to tell you, Madison, when the ball came off her bat, it was screaming.
It just sounds different.
Yes.
It sounds different when it's coming off of the bat of Tori Edwards.
A player who missed most of last season with a season-ending injury when she stubbed her toe. But she is certainly made up for lost time here in this 2024-25 campaign. So 2 walks in the inning, a single to start things off. We saw that home run from Bergeron to give LSU a 3-run lead, but more importantly, no outs here for Neely Lamb. She's got to try to retire a batter.
LSU's just passing the bat along. When they're not getting the pitches that they want to go after, they're taking them. They're taking their free pass, but when they are getting their pitch, they're capitalizing on it. Danica Coffey smoking that base hit to the left side. Macy Bergeron hitting the home run to the left side. And because LSU's starting to pick up momentum, head coach Ashley Chastain Woodard's coming out to have a conversation with Neely Lamb. It's a tough spot to be in, too, because you want to be careful about leaving those pitches over the middle of the zone, but also you got to throw strikes. You got to try to let your defense work behind you. And because the South Carolina defense is so good.
So already some activity as bullpen starting to get loose for South Carolina. Neely Lamb, Charleston Southern transfer. We mentioned her success in the Big South, was also the freshman of the year in that conference, but grew up a Gamecock fan, always wanted to be a part, and now she's got the opportunity to don the uniform. The first pitch to Mackenzie Rudity, and it's for strike 1. Rudity, one of the seniors on this Tiger Club out of Franklin, North Carolina. For LSU, coming in 30-2 on the season. Rudity laces this one into the gap in center field, all the way to the wall. And Tori Edwards going to come home, and it's a triple, RBI triple for Mackenzie Rudity.
LSU is squaring up everything that they are seeing so far from Neely Lamb. Mackenzie Rudity, look at this swing here. A pitch on the outside part of the plate. She gets this pitch just elevated a little bit. Keeps her hands inside, hard line drive out into that left center gap. And look at Tori Edwards motoring around second. Coach Beth Torina is sending her all the way. She is going to score easily on that triple by Rudity.
Second triple of the season for Rudity. She's 60 feet from home with Sierra Daniel at the plate.
It's these pitches early in the count that Neely Lamb hasn't been able to locate for strikes. And when I've seen her at her best, she's able to establish that low part of the zone and then work up with that rise ball to get the swing and miss. But she hasn't been able to locate those low corners of that strike zone yet.
So you've got to think we've already seen a visit to the circle from Coach Chastain Woodard. You know, how long of a leash will Neely Lamb have in this game?
I'd imagine if she keeps struggling here in this bottom of the first, you've got to make a change early. And you think about it too, it's just game one of a 3-game series, so you got to think you've got 2 more games after this one. We already saw some early action over in that bullpen for South Carolina. Sam Gress was over there getting loose. And South Carolina's a team, too, that definitely likes to utilize the analytics. They like to play those matchups. They'll use pitchers as an opener and then bring in a middle reliever. Really try to utilize their entire pitching staff.
So Becker and Jory Hurd, we saw with the ball in her hand. Watching on, the 2-2 pitch is high. It's now a full count. The pitch to Daniel. Smacked foul. This LSU team is already putting the pressure on South Carolina. And if you're just tuning in, folks, I mean, there was nearly an hour weather delay. We saw rain come through. There was a lightning delay in the process just before we were set to start off at 6 Eastern, 5 local. And that's what is much needed for Neely Lamb. She gets the strikeout on the first out of the inning.
She was able to work ahead in that count, and Sierra Daniel fought off a couple of those pitches, but this is the rise ball. This is the pitch that she wants to be able to go to. It's got some great arm side run to it as well, which is going to be very useful against all of these lefties in the LSU lineup. But she has to continue to try to get ahead, then to be able to expand the zone.
And she gets Jaden Leno swinging at that one, so 0-1. Leno, a sophomore out of the Atlanta area. Interestingly enough, her sister Zoe played softball for South Carolina. Well, she's one of 8 players in this LSU lineup that's hit better than .330 on the season. And Ashley Chastain Woodard saying, I'm going to go ahead and make the change now. So Neely Lamb, who faced 6 batters, will now hand it over to her teammate Jory Hurd to see if they can navigate the rest of this inning with Hurd in the circle.
Dory Noke in studio. How about Texas and Mississippi State playing 2 today? #1 Horns, though, walked off in the first game. Freshman pinch hitter Paige Ernstus of Mississippi State drives in Abby Richardson, and #1 Texas goes down For the third time this season, they'll play the second game shortly in Starkville.
Whoa. Whoa is all I can say. That's a huge win for Sam Ricketts and that Mississippi State team. Taking a look at this top 10, I mean, Texas, #1 team in the country, and Mississippi State just did that.
You just look at these series, and it really does feel like a super regional every weekend. And the way that Mississippi State has been playing this year, so much fight with that team. They are never out of the game. They had the lead early in that game. Texas started to come their way back. But how about Paige Ernstes? Pinch hitting, coming in with a double down the line to win them the ball game against Texas. What a huge moment for the freshman.
And for Jory Hurd, who comes in the circle now, the junior who's been in this South Carolina program but has really been asked to do a little bit more and called upon more in her utilization this season. What a moment for her to try to work out of this inning. She's ahead 0-2 to Savannah Bedell.
I think this is a spot, too, where you just have to completely ignore the scoreboard. You got to come into this ball game and think it's still a 0-0 ball game and just go right after the first batter that you're facing and coming in with an 0-1 count.
It was a single and a walk that led things off. Then Macy Barzeron hit a 3-run homer. Mackenzie Rudity drove in another, and this one the grounder over to second base, and 2 down. So Bedell advancing the runner over to third. He's now the 9-hole hitter, set to come up to the plate with Avery Hodge.
Going to see Jory Hurd throw with good velocity, high 60s consistently, likes to work that fastball to both sides of the plate, but she also has that changeup and a rise ball. Those 2 pitches, to me, are going to be key for her against this LSU lineup. She's another one of those pitchers that can do a little bit of everything, but she's got to continue to get ahead. For Neely Lamb, she ended up facing those 6 batters. 4 of those 6 batters got to 3-ball counts. So if she can find a way to get ahead, I think she can try to change the momentum in this game.
That one fouled off the end of the bat of Hodge.
Ooh, it looks like it might have gotten Lexi Winters on that foul ball. Taking a second to make sure that she's okay.
And apologies, this is Savannah Bedell. The 2-1. Outside for ball 3. The sophomore who hit really well last year in the appearances that she had in the plate. And even 500 through 20 games. Getting the opportunity here, just her 10th at bat of the season. Hurd readies, delivers, low for ball 4. So now runners at the corners and 2 outs here. LSU, who has already put up 4 runs in the bottom half of the first, looking to add a little bit more.
And it's another walk, another free pass for LSU that just continues to extend this inning for them offensively.
Here's Avery Hodge, junior out of Richmond, Texas. Hodge, who came over from the Sooners, a couple of national titles. When you look at this series, it's been controlled by LSU, and now she's hoping to have some similar success that she had at OU here for this Tiger program.
Avery hit her first career home run this week against Louisiana in their midweek game. Hit a home run out to right field. Really good swing on a pitch working down in the zone.
Taking all the ways, 3 balls and a strike. And I love that you brought up that game, because you think about LSU, who had a 4-run deficit, or rather they were down 4 runs, and they erased that deficit with 11 unanswered runs to get that midweek win.
And that's about that response that you've seen from LSU this season. You mentioned the Louisiana game. We saw something similar in the series against Georgia. Even some games in the series against Kentucky where they were down and they were able to respond back.
Right back to Hurd, who bats it down, but it's going to be an out, because guess what? She held on to it. And that's how you get out of the inning for South Carolina. Hurd comes on in relief and doesn't let any more.
Watch, we did have that lengthy rain delay, and so the game was on in the other room, able to catch South Carolina. It was a good battle between Maryland and South Carolina in that game.
100%. Then the SEC 6th Woman of the Year, Malaysia Fulwiley, just came in, took
behind
over.
The back.
Behind the back, yeah. Yep. It was quite impressive, as she is. And so is Sydney Berzon. I mean, she was impressive in that first inning. 13 pitches thrown, 9 of them for strikes. Good piece of hitting there to lead things off for South Carolina here at the top of the second. LaChancy aboard with a leadoff base hit.
Pitchers always appreciate when your offense goes out there and puts up a bunch of runs, but also that means that you've been sitting in the dugout for a little bit, so you maybe need a few pitches to get going, but this is a great swing by LaChancy. When you're facing somebody that throws drop balls, you want to look for something a little bit more up in the zone, and she got it, and she drove that one hard out to right field. There's that off-speed pitch. You can see that it's almost got a little bit of upspin to it.
Lexi Winters now standing in at the plate as the Defensive Player of the Year in the American a season ago. She was a part of that championship team for the 49ers with her head coach. She's one of 6 who've relocated to Columbia, South Carolina. The 0-2, and Winters takes it high for ball 1. Lined out to left, and Winters is retired. We'll be back here tomorrow, folks, Saturday night at 7 Eastern, 6 Central on the SEC Network for Game 2 of this 3-game series from Tiger Park. And remember, Sunday's game is scheduled for 2 Eastern over on ESPN2. And the good news is this is Teal Weekend around the SEC. And we'll get into that a little bit more, but it's to raise awareness regarding ovarian cancer. And Beth Torena, who has a personal tie and connection, really helped to jumpstart the movement within the conference. And Mississippi State's Alex Wilcox, who passed away from ovarian cancer. This is a weekend filled of information and awareness, and you'll see the All for Alex theme throughout.
It's really awesome to see. Of course, we talk about all these teams and how competitive they are with each other throughout the season, but to see everybody on one weekend come together for the same cause and to honor Alex Wilcox and the legacy that she left, not just with Mississippi State, not just with the SEC, but really the entire softball world, I think is something that is truly special, a weekend that I look forward to every single year.
I have a walk tomorrow that we get to participate in. And the good news is that both teams will be able to participate along with this LSU community. Abigail Knight stands in with a 3-1 count. The senior fouls that one off. She's got a runner in scoring position and trailing by 4 runs. This South Carolina team, who has really blossomed to exceed expectations this season, is looking to crack away at that lead. Straight on into center field. And 2 down.
So far in this top of the second inning, South Carolina is making very solid contact. The last 3 balls that they've put in play, only one of them was recorded for a hit, but the line drive that Lexi Winters hit out to left field was a hard hit. Abigail Knight just hit that hard line drive out to center field. So they're doing a good job of making those quick adjustments against what Sydney Burzon is throwing out in the circle.
Natalie Heath takes a big cut there, the redshirt junior that we mentioned had such an impressive weekend. And now the junior still has a runner in scoring position. And you can see what's on her mind through those swings.
She's trying to send that ball out of the yard. Good depth on that drop ball low and away, trying to see if Burzon is able to keep this pitch away from the barrel of Natalie Heath, because she swings with authority up there in the batter's box.
She just gets a piece of it, trying to beat out the grounder. And a good play made by Coffey, who charged in. Seeing her pitching be strong throughout. The offense has come through. I mean, this is a group that's just coming off that shutout victory over Clemson earlier this week.
Really started off the season extremely well, and just finding different ways to win ball games too. Not every time is it just relying on the home run, but just moving runners over, utilizing some short game, relying on their pitching. It just seems like they've found different ways to get it done. And I even think back to that series that they had against Oklahoma in Norman. No, they didn't end up winning that series, but that was such a battle between those two teams all weekend long. Just the fight that this team showed against a team like Oklahoma, I think, speaks volumes for the team and what they're going to be able to do through the rest of this season.
Well, one way to open up conference play, if you're actually just saying what it is against the 4-time defending champion Oklahoma Sooners, now that they've entered the conference along with Texas. Some tough competition. That's 1-2 in the top 25, and now they're facing off against the 3rd-ranked team in the country here tonight against LSU.
The level of competition throughout the SEC is pretty insane this year, but it makes for some fantastic softball games. We've already seen several throughout this year, and I cannot wait to see what else comes up through the rest of this 2025 season.
Full count to Danica Coffey, who fouls it away. It's like the SEC can just flex across the country, right, on other conferences, just by way of, I mean, their dominance. You've got 13 teams in the top 25. It just means more. It just means more, Madison.
There you go.
And so, back-to-back innings, Danica Coffey aboard safely. She singled in the first and aboard with a leadoff walk here in the second. But let's give the love to Ashley Chastain Woodard and the excitement that she's brought back to Columbia, taking over for Bev Smith after 14 seasons. The coaches picked to finish 11th in the SEC, and they go on and start 20-0 in her first year. I mean, she had great success, obviously, at her previous institution, but now she's got her team 11th best in the country.
And I think, too, she really has this team in a process-oriented mindset, so they're not going out there just hunting results, but they're truly sticking to the process in the sense that they keep charts in the dugout about certain things that they want to accomplish throughout the game. For an example, offensively, they keep track of competitive plate appearances. So as a team, they're wanting to be above 60% when it comes to competitive plate appearances throughout a ball game. So little things like that is keeping this team process-oriented and not out there just strictly hunting results.
That one pulled to the left side from Jayla Lassiter. So much like we saw last inning start, back-to-back batters on base, and that's Lassiter's first base hit of the afternoon.
You're seeing this offense constantly communicate with their teammates behind them about what they're seeing up at the plate. Lassiter hits this one, gets a little bit jammed up, but she's able to get barrel around it to where it drives it right through that 5-6 hole, and that's where that defensive shift plays a factor there, because Brooke Blankenship, the shortstop, was shaded up the middle. If she's playing where she is right now, that ground ball goes right to her.
And Barzeron, who got this LSU team on the board with a 3-run blast, she's back at the plate now. You see her numbers over the first 2 seasons, mid, right? But this year, hitting .400, and she has been sending balls out of the park left and right this season.
That batting average too, doubling the home runs up there, 37 RBI too.
Mm-hmm. So one of the key contributors in this lineup for Coach Torino.
I'd imagine too it gives her a lot of confidence knowing that Tori Edwards has been so productive in the lineup right behind her, so you don't feel that you're the one that has to get it done every single time. There's a freeing mentality with that as LSU draws another walk, and it's going to load the bases for Tori Edwards.
Now this is the challenge for the Gamecocks pitchers, right? Because they've got to find a way to slow down, but you don't want to help or aid the Tigers in any way. But 2 walks and a single to lead it off here.
You can see the infield for South Carolina coming together, and another tough spot for Jory Hurd here, because you want to throw strikes. You want to bring these pitches into the strike zone, but you know that you can't bring them too much over the middle, because Tori Edwards is a batter in this lineup already with 11 home runs so far this year. That will absolutely make you pay if you give her something good to hit.
So what do? How do you pitch her?
You got to go after her. I think you've got to go after her. You cannot continue to walk batters in this LSU lineup. Trying to work in that curveball outside, not able to get that call. And now if, on the flip side, if you're Tori Edwards, every ball that she throws, more and more, you're getting a little bit more aggressive, thinking she's going to bring one over the middle. Tori Edwards with her swing and just effortless power that she brings up at the plate. She can pull the ball to the left side, but look at the height of these home runs. They're getting off the ground maybe, 8-9 feet in the air, but she has so much pop with her bat that she's able to drive these line drives out of the park in a hurry. Some of those home runs, it feels like it gets out of the ballpark in about a half a second.
Well, if you're wondering at home what the team's home run leader has done this season, she's hit a couple of grand slams. So just setting the stage here. Perhaps, but right now, Hurd ahead in the count. 1-2. That's a no-doubter. 3 grand slams on the season for Tori Edwards.
Tori Edwards falls behind in this count, but she is still able to get something that she can drive out of the ballpark. A changeup. This pitch is supposed to be low and outside. It's an off-speed pitch, and she still is able to blast it out of the ballpark, out to left field. You can just hear it. That ball coming off of her bat just sounds different, and she gets the backspin. She's able to get the carry against the wind that's blowing straight in this ballpark and still hit her 3rd grand slam on the season.
Her ears were burning, Madison.
We're talking about the home runs. You mentioned the grand slams. Right on cue.
But you also said how difficult it is to hit home runs in this park. I mean, you played here when you were at Tennessee. How difficult was it for you?
Well, you can even see the flags right now. They are blowing straight in.
That one sharply hit over to Blankenship, and that's a much-needed first out of the inning for the Gamecocks.
You have to get such a good piece of the softball to drive it out in this ballpark. And also, too, when you do see those flags blowing in, sometimes as a batter, you're thinking, all right, I need to try to hit the ball on the ground. I need to try to go for a line drive, because if I try to hit the ball out of the ballpark, it's just going to get caught up in the wind. But she hit that out on a changeup, too. Just speaks volumes to how much power she has.
And it was hanging
Yeah.
for a while up in the air. It feels like those flags haven't stopped moving since we've gotten to the ballpark.
But you could feel that big hit coming too, just by the way that South Carolina's pitching staff has not been able to command the strike zone consistently. It just plays into the hand of LSU and what they're trying to do up at the plate.
Sierra Daniel puts it on third base. Chansey over to Rhodey, and 2 away. Well, Sunday at 5 Eastern, we'll wrap up the weekend here on the SEC Network with the top baseball team in the nation as #1 Tennessee plays South Carolina in the final game of their 3-game series. Now, Madison, what should I know about this Tennessee team?
Tony Vitello is going to get his team fired up again for another season.
And Blankenship collects that one in shallow center field. To what this South Carolina team would do this season, there's no pressure for them. They're playing freely, they're playing their best softball, and they don't have a weight on them.
She said that their loss to Coastal Carolina might have been the only time that they really kind of got out of that process, but it was a great learning experience for them to feel what that feels like in a game and how to make sure that that doesn't happen moving forward. But she talked so highly about everybody on this team, and one of the things that stood out to her looking at the start of this season was just how quickly this team learned how to win ball games. And that's something that you hear coaches talk about a lot, is learning how to win in those tough moments, and that's something that this team has been able to figure out early on in the season. And they've played in tough games. They've played in battles where they've had to come back in ball games. And I think even last weekend, a weekend off from the SEC, but you go ahead and you welcome in the Texas Tech Red Raiders with last year's Player of the Year, Nigeri Kennedy, and they end up winning the series.
And that one gets through a diving Tori Edwards at first base, and Brooke Blankenship has the second hit of the ball game for the Gamecocks. Well, Blankenship is one of those players that hung over from the previous staff and stayed for this new coaching staff.
You can see South Carolina just trying to get behind some of these drop balls, and she hits that one just past the diving glove of Tori Edwards over at first base.
I'll go back to that point. You said, hey, you see Nigeri Kennedy now at Texas Tech. And we asked, well, did you go out and seek to play Texas Tech? She says, you know what, it was already on the schedule.
But they embraced it,
right,
too. You bring in Texas Tech, and Coach Jerry Glasgow has done a great job with that program so far this year. And you think about where you want to end up as a team. You want to be that team that's at the World Series, and in order to get to the World Series, you know you're going to have to face Nigeri Kennedy. So they embraced that, ended up winning the series against Texas Tech.
The high chopper coming in charging is Daniel, and she makes the play in time. So good defense, tough there to handle by Daniel, but she does so and retires Emily Vincent.
Not an easy play at all for Sierra Daniel over at second base. This one's chopping really high, and she stutters her feet just a little bit to read that hop a bit better and continues her momentum and has to throw across her body behind her to Tori Edwards. A nice stretch by Edwards over at first base as well, but a well-executed play on a play that was anything but routine, but she made it look routine.
This LSU team has all elements, as you mentioned, just clicking right now. This one on the infield, and Edwards handles that and retires Lilio. Lilio now moves over Blankenship to third base. And the umpire crew for today trying to have a quick conversation about that last play, perhaps. Carlos Guzman behind home plate. Jose Chaparro over at first and Lyndon Batiste over at third. Let's see what they might be looking at.
So I'm wondering if they're talking about Lilio stepping backwards here before the tag was applied over at first base, and it looks like that's what they're going to call. And because she stepped backwards, you can't step backwards at first base, they're going to go ahead and put Brooke Blankenship back over at second base. Just that slight movement by Lilio backwards. If she would have just stood still, then Brooke Blankenship would still be sitting over at third base. But because she started to move backwards before that tag was applied, that's why the umpires are going to go ahead and put her back at second base.
So they're providing that explanation. So now the runner, as you mentioned, moving back to second base, still in scoring position.
The ruling on the field is that the runner stepped back, thus we have interference. South Carolina is challenging the ruling. The following play is under review.
So you have the ability to review, but Madison, I think we both see.
I think it's the timing that they're going to look at. It looks like she's stepping backwards to me. I mean, very briefly before that tag was applied, but you could see that right foot start to step backwards, her momentum start to go backwards right before Tori Edwards applied that tag.
So video review available in the SEC. The communication that we heard from Carlos Guzman, among the things you can review, and that is one of them. So Command Central trying to give the official word as we await the call here at the ballpark.
After video review, the runner did not step back. The runner on second will advance to third base. We're still going to have the out. Now South Carolina's first challenge.
Interesting here, because when I'm looking at it, I thought that she was stepping backwards. Let's see the timing of it when the tag was applied. I mean, I guess maybe her foot did not hit the ground yet before that tag was applied.
She was
to me, it looked to me like she was stepping backwards,
yeah.
But they ultimately say that she did not.
Good challenge there, and after that, first pitch swinging, and the third out of the inning as Carly Shelton.
Give free passes to this LSU offense. She likes to throw those pitches down in the zone. She's got some pretty good down bite on that drop ball that she'll throw to both sides, but she's got to throw strikes. You have to force LSU to put the ball in play.
That one off the glove of Chansey at third, putting the ball in play. Usually very solid defensively, but that was a tough one to handle. And Bedell is safe with the single.
And Katie Becker did her job. She threw a strike. Bedell hits this one hard on the ground. Ella Chansey reaches up. Looks like she's going to have this one no problem. It hits right in the middle of her glove and just pops right out. Wondering if maybe she went to go throw the ball before she had that ball completely secured in her glove. But a very rare miscue for the South Carolina defense.
Shortstop Avery Hodge, who lined out back to the pitcher in her first at bat. Hodge hitting nearly 400 on the season. For this LSU team, I mean, we've talked about how good they've been on offense. They have tested themselves throughout with tough schedules. I mean, that's a theme for Beth Dorena. I mean, she loves to do that season in and season out since she's been here. They're always among the top 10 in terms of strength of schedule. And this group was able to collect a win against UCLA earlier in the season, as they've also swept Kentucky in their first SEC series and then took down Georgia in their last. Third time up for Danica Coffey. Single and a walk for the fifth-year senior. One of the top hitters in the SEC in multiple categories. And Katie Becker right now is doing a good job ahead in the count 0-2.
She does have a changeup that she'll throw as well. Primarily, we've been seeing her use that drop ball, able to get ahead here to Danica Coffey.
And Coffey with a great piece of hitting on 0-2 and drives home a run. So Coffey does her little dance after driving in her 30th run of the season. Great piece of hitting.
You could see Danica Coffey throughout this at-bat too, watching those first two pitches by. It's almost like she's taking in information, deciding how she's going to adjust her barrel when she does decide to swing, this time slapping again. That power slap over into the left center gap. All smiles by her over at first base. And Taylor Pleasance over there. LSU great, coaching first base as well.
Well, all gas, no brakes. That's what it feels like when you watch this LSU offense, and that's what's been on display here tonight. You mentioned Taylor Pleasance, who was a rock star and a floor, or a field general rather, for LSU, part of that veteran-laden team from a season ago. And now wanting to see greater things for this LSU program as she's on staff. As that one, a wild pitch gets passed, so both runners now in scoring position.
And this seems to be the situation that LSU thrives when they do have those runners in scoring position.
Jayla Lassiter. Walk. Single. Swing and a miss, full count now.
Good pitch, that downwards drop that she's able to throw low and inside to these right-handed batters. Has that arm side run to it too, so it's almost wrapping around the backside of these righties.
And a call, third strike, and Lassiter is retired.
I really like the call to go right back to the exact same spot. You saw Lassiter swing and miss on the pitch before. This one she thinks is a ball inside, but look at that late bite that pitch has to it. Crossing right about mid-thigh and rings her up for strike three.
Becker needed that strikeout, as when you think about LSU tonight, 3 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Barzeron has been even better this season with that, and this is what she did last time she had runners on.
Take you all the way back to the first inning. A 3-run shot out to left field. This pitch a little bit more up in the zone, but she just turns on it. Has such quick hands working through the zone. A lot of power in that swing.
Well, this is a group that's excelled with second-year man Bryce Neal on staff, replacing Howard Dobson. And Neal, who we got a chance to talk to before in the hitting cages, he's taken over. And what have you seen in quick display about maybe the approach offensively?
Just how quickly they're able to adjust to different types of pitching that you're seeing, whether it's rise balls, whether it's drop balls. It almost feels like instantly they're able to make those adjustments.
The throw to home, and it's in time time as Hodge is tagged. And she's called out at home plate, and Beth Torina might have a quick discussion with home plate umpire, and she does. Literally, it's quick because she's going to try to call a review. She wants to take another look at that, or them to take another look.
The ruling on the field is that runner was out at home. LSU is challenging that ruling.
There's no question that the throw definitely beat Hodge at the plate. The question is did Lexi Winters apply the tag? Hard to tell from that first angle, hard to tell from this angle too, because Hodge is almost blocking the glove there. But she immediately pulls up and starts calling herself safe. She thought that Winters missed the tag. Let's take another look at it here. Does she get her right there? That's the question.
Between that angle and the first angle we saw might be the most definitive. I thought she may have slid underneath it. However, you've got to have irrefutable evidence, right? You've got to have enough to overturn the call. And when you watch that review, was there enough in your mind to be definitive to say,
I've been wrong once already today on video reviews. Very close play. I mean, for as much as that throw beat Hodge to the plate, I thought that it was going to be no question that she was going to be out. But when you do slow it down, it is very, very close whether or not Winters got the tag.
After video review, the call on the field of out is upheld. The runner is out. LSU's first challenge.
Let's get another view of this one.
See if does she apply the tag right there.
And this is what the umpires.
The other thing to look at too is, did Avery Hodge touch home plate? Let's see if that. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
just barely touches the plate.
So Torina has one more review. Runners at the corners now with 2 outs for Tori Edwards. And Becker, who watched on last inning with what Edwards did, staying away from her. 3 straight balls, and then coming right down.
Looked like Tori Edwards was taken all the way on that 3-0 pitch. If I'm Katie Becker, I think I go right back outside to that drop ball low and away.
Instead, pitches to her, and that one is chopped in. Another RBI. Now 5 runs batted in for Tori Edwards.
So we know that South Carolina likes to play those shifts. They like to work with the analytics and the spray charts of where a hitter is typically going to go. They work this drop ball inside, but Tori Edwards is somehow able to keep her hands inside enough to drive this drop ball inside the opposite direction. You saw Carly Shelton playing pretty much right up the middle. They thought that she was going to get out in front and pull that ball to the left side, but Tori Edwards, reading the shift, does the complete opposite and hits against the shift.
And you mentioned something just about how good she is and how she can make those adjustments with that compact swing.
It's not easy to do, especially with the drop ball working down and inside to your hands, but that just speaks to how quick her hands are and how strong she is moving through the zone, that she's not just going to roll over to the left side because that's what South Carolina wants her to do on that pitch, but she's going to try to muscle it the other direction.
Mackenzie Rudity, who tripled back in the first, drove home a run. And takes that one for ball 3. An all-conference player a couple seasons ago in this Tiger program. And Rudity sees this offense continue to roll as Torino waving around, and another LSU run on the board.
Rudity with another really nice swing in today's ball game. Hit that triple back in the first inning, gets another pitch outside, and she keeps her hands inside again. That barrel's going to be back behind her hands, so that's where you're able to drive the ball hard the opposite direction. A line drive out to left field scores another run for the Tigers in this inning.
And the offense that you're seeing here tonight is so on brand with LSU. We talked about one of the most dangerous offenses in the country. They've got 9 hits tonight, 11 runs put up. And right now, South Carolina has not been able to find an answer in the circle to slow down this Tiger team.
And I think what you're seeing too for LSU is they're just not getting themselves out up at the plate.
This one played well as Shelton was veering to her left, and that ends the inning. We'll get a chance to talk with Ashley Chastain Woodard, the South Carolina head coach. Last season, go by some outlets as an All-American. And so Ariana Rhodey is a player who knows what that process is like, and we'll see how competitive she is in this plate appearance. Now 2 balls and 2 strikes in the count.
She's got a lot of power up at the plate, and because of that, you're seeing Berzon go to some of those off-speed pitches. And Coach Ashley Chastain Woodard said that Rhodey has done a really nice job this season of having that swing adjustability to be able to adjust to different speeds.
And Berzon gets the strikeout right on the outside part of the plate, and Rhodey wanted to commit.
She slowed her down with back-to-back off-speed pitches and then goes right back outside with the drop ball at 66 miles per hour, just paints that outside corner. Sometimes as a batter, when that's not the pitch that you're looking for, all you can do is try to tip your cap and get him the next time.
Berzon, the 2-time All-American who has held this South Carolina team to just 2 hits so far in this game, 3 in the 3rd innings pitch. You saw her second strikeout right there. The efficiency that we have seen from Berzon thus far. I mean, limited pitching or pitches thrown, and she's closing in on number 50. Berzon, who's just got all the tools, mixes speeds very well and pitches in the process.
And if she's able to get that outside pitch to the right-handed batters, that's a difficult pitch for these righties to get solid barrel on, especially when it's tailing away from their bats. And she works it back inside. That's a really good take by Ella Chansey. Those are sometimes the pitches that you want to go after, especially in a 2-1 count. But some good discipline, working her way to 3-1. And then the off speed. She plays the hitter leverage counts to her advantage at times too, I find. When the hitter gets into a 3-1 count, they're going to be aggressive, thinking that she's going to come back with that drop ball for another strike, and that's when she works in that off-speed pitch to get her just out in front to get strike number 2.
That one foul and out of play. But that speaks to Madison Berzon being a great student of the game, right? And paying attention to that and being attuned to the hitter's preferences. And a couple of unassisted outs we've seen tonight from Tori Edwards over at first.
The 4th one so far that I have listed, ground balls going over to Tori Edwards, and it's because South Carolina has a lot of those right-handed bats in the lineup, and she's throwing those drop balls outside, so she's trying to get them to hit those ground balls over to the right side.
Lexi Winters now at the plate, and Winters has that one come all the way in for strike 1. Right out her last time up. And well out in front of that one.
That pitch is just nasty out of the hand. Because it has such tight spin and rotation on it, as a batter, you think it's going to be coming in about 65, 66 miles per hour up in the zone, and that's why you see swings so far out in front.
Another one right there. Another one. There it is. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Sydney Berzon. Phenomenal pitch here from Sydney Berzon.
When the pitch is whooped to what's going on, but she has been really lights out today. That depth on the drop ball too is one of the things that I was going to be tracking today, and it's got some really filthy movement to it along with that off-speed pitch.
I love that you talked about the filthiness of the drop ball, because we always hear filthy with change, right?
A
That
little bit of
drop
everything.
ball, a little bit of everything.
The heavy drop down in the zone.
Well,
If you can't tell, drop balls were not my favorite to hit off of, so
You
maybe
like
that's
the
why
rise
I
variety,
did.
right?
I did. I probably still swing and miss at some rise balls up here in the booth, but drop balls I always struggled with.
But the grand slam that you hit here when you were a player, was it a rise ball?
It was a rise ball,
Okay,
yes.
all right. So, I mean, you know what you like. And we jokingly said this to Coach Torina, and I love that you pointed it out. Like, she likes right-handed pitchers. And it wasn't anything that she had done, honestly, based on a preference. That's just kind of how it played out, right? So when you think about Sydney Berzon, she's one of 5 All-Americans that coach has helped to develop since her time being here. And then you pointed out, she said, another right-hander, Allie Wall-Jasper, Shelby Sanseri,
Rachel
Hoover.
Fico. I mean,
Yeah.
like, there's a lot of right-handed pitchers that came to mind, and we were talking about Jaden Heavner, the freshman for them, and how she's the first true lefty for LSU this year. That surprised me when I saw that. I said, surely there had to have been some other left-handed pitchers, but they're all righties that were coming to mind.
Yeah. So she didn't plan it that way. It just kind of happened that way. Good pop of the bat for Savannah Bedell in the center, and that was just a loud out. But the fans here in Tiger Park certainly were excited. You think the wind had something to do with
Absolutely.
that too?
I think the wind had a lot to do with that ball, and it's a really nice play by Lilio out in center field, because she was tracking that one back all the way to the wall, and then she ends up having to run back in to try to make this catch, a basket catch out in the warning track. That's a really nice job out in center field. Bedell thought that one was gone off of the bat, and the wind just held it up. You can see the flag still blowing straight in towards home plate. And like you mentioned earlier, Tiffany, those flags have not had a break all day long. They have been going since the very start of this ball game, even before the start of this ball game.
Well, that's one of the nice advantages, if you will, of playing here at Tiger Park if you don an LSU uniform, understanding that you're going to be battling this wind throughout practice, throughout games, and it makes it very difficult for opponents.
Well, and I'm sure the pitchers love it too. The pitchers probably love playing in this ballpark with the wind blowing in. Although we say that, we have seen a couple of home runs in today's ball game. So.
Well, thankfully things have calmed down as Avery Hodge on that right side. A great play there from Shelton. That was tough as that one kept veering to the left.
Yeah, she was shaded up the middle just a little bit, and this ball's hit into the 3-4 hole. Look where she starts, and then she has to angle her body back towards right field and throws this ball off balance over to first base. Such a difficult play that she has to make very quickly, too, with Avery Hodge running down that first baseline. There's that solid defense that has been really good for South Carolina this season.
Well, Danica Coffey, her 4th plate appearance of the night. She's been aboard safely in each of the 3 prior. And LSU with 11 runs, so we're in run rule territory with South Carolina potentially with their final 3 outs on the other side of this. Coffey, who has a couple of singles tonight, led off with the base hit, also drove in a run. And one of the great faces, both she and Sydney Berzon on the watch list for USA softball's Player of the Year award, and you've seen her be great, but there, Katie Becker gets her looking. So called third strike, and South Carolina has 3 outs remaining. They've got to try to come back. Going to be the Go Teal Day. Everybody will be wearing teal in the All for Alex campaign. A game dedicated to striking out ovarian cancer as the softball community unites. And lots happening around this LSU campus. Baseball is supposed to be in action tonight. It's kind of cool that they're the only program in the country with the top 5 softball and baseball program. And of course, Kim Mulkey leading the way for LSU on the hardwood, currently trailing at the half, 40-36 against NC State.
South Carolina was trailing at the half too, and they
That's
came
true.
back to win, right?
That's true. Last 3 champions, by the way, have either been South Carolina or LSU. And a great base hit, as that one is in fair play, and Abigail Knight lasers that one to right field.
Really good swing on this pitch. A drop ball inside, and she turns on it, gets barrel underneath. Again, that's the key to this pitch, is anticipating where that drop ball's going to end up, and she gets barrel underneath to drive it past the glove of Tori Edwards at first base. Hits a hard line drive out to right field to get something going in the top of the 5th.
Well, that's the type of CPA, competitive plate appearance, Coach Chastain Woodard wants to see for a group. Obviously, they've got a lot of work to do. The 8-run rule, many of you may be familiar with. When a team is up by 8 or more runs, 5 innings, then the game will be ended potentially a little bit earlier. But South Carolina trying some things out right now. The freshman, Chloe Lackey, over at first base. Natalie Heath at the plate. A little bit of a drizzle coming back over here. And we saw weather delay the start of this one nearly an hour. A lot of systems move in the Gulf of Mexico that kind of move across. I know there was the train at Sherry Parker Lee Stadium,
yes.
right? That was your, like, I'm home.
Yeah, that train always rolled by during games, practices, as that rain is coming down. I always wonder how that rain affects the pitchers too, trying to get the grip, making sure that they're able to get the seams on those pitches.
Two balls and 2 strikes as the 2-time All-American Sydney Berzon has been outstanding here tonight. We heard those sentiments echoed by our head coach. 67 pitches thrown on the night, just kept South Carolina at bay, off balance. And now Lackey in scoring position on the pass ball.
Looked like maybe another one of those off-speed pitches that she just hung on to a little bit too long. Got away from Bajran back behind plate. Good at bat here by Natalie Heath, working it back to a full count.
Heath reaches out for that one, and she's going to get another crack at it.
Berzon so far in this at bat trying to stay on the outside part of the plate. Heath has a lot of power to the pull side. Came around a bit too much on that one, found it off. It looked like right into her left foot, the inside of her left foot, but she looks to be okay. Getting right back into that batter's box.
Payoff. And that one pays off for Berzon. Registers another strikeout. That's her 4th of the night.
Berzon has just been so efficient in the circle for LSU right from the start of the ball game, working drop balls on both sides of the plate, but it's that off-speed pitch, those change-ups that have been the equalizer. Just when South Carolina starts to make their adjustments on the drop ball, that's when she starts firing in the off-speed to, again, keep them off balance, to get some of those strikeouts, but most of all, just continue to get them to miss-hit the ball enough to where they haven't been able to get anything going consistently.
Berzon, who coaches said since she stepped on campus, one of the most talented that we've brought into the program. Knows herself, understands her pitching mechanics exceptionally well.
Blankenship had a nice base hit her last time up against Berzon, drove it the opposite direction. Good take outside, tries to throw her another one of those drop balls out to see if she'll chase. Looks like something might have made its way out onto the field in center field.
I think the kids were just tossing the ball around, may have.
It is
left.
windy,
Yeah,
so, the wind could have picked something up too.
Three balls, 2 strikes to Blankenship. And the senior out of Hudson, Florida, draws the 1-out walk. So no runners at first and second. That's the first walk given up tonight by Berzon.
And it looked like a couple of those off speeds that she just wasn't able to locate the strike zone like we saw from her earlier today. And it looks like we're going to see a pinch hitter come up to the plate for South Carolina. Emma Sellers getting ready to take an at-bat off of Sydney Berzon.
Out of Lakewood, California, Sellers, the senior, sees a strike. Spent some time last season on the infield. Was both a second baseman and shortstop. Now coming in a pitch hitting role, 6 of 15, and well, she does her job, and she stands in there, takes the pain contact of the ball, hit by pitch, and now bases loaded here.
Berzon trying to work this pitch inside and just gets it a bit too far inside. Maybe clipped part of that elbow guard. But this inning continues for South Carolina, and it flips it back over to the top of the order. There's that off-speed pitch. It almost works like a rise ball up in the zone, and that's the pitch that she was throwing in the strike zone to get those swings and misses, and now it's just missing up and outside of the zone.
She places that one in there for a strike. Berzon stands back in. And this one hit into center field. Underneath it is Lassiter, going to try to make the throw over to third, concede the run. And so that wipes out the shutout as South Carolina is on the board.
It's a quality at bat for Lilio. You come up, you struck out in the first inning, hit a ground ball to the right side in the third inning, and then you have an opportunity to score a run. You get underneath the pitch enough to hit the sac fly out to center field and just chip away at that score. More importantly, which Coach Chastain Woodard was talking about, you've got a 3-game series, so you're probably going to see Berzon again.
And this one hit up the middle. And the play at the plate is not in time as Blankenship has saved the throw over the third. And they say that she too is safe as Sellers was able to get in right underneath the tag. And hold your horses because here come the Gamecocks.
Carly Shelton with a great swing, driving this one right past Berzon, straight back up the middle. Lassiter with a great throw to the plate, just not in time. And Sellers taking the extra 60 feet, smoked off of the bat. On the fly, too, to Bajran. And Blankenship's just barely able to get that hand in on time. And now if you're South Carolina, this is the exact batter that you want up in this situation. You want to try to extend this ball game. And you've got Ariana Rhodey up.
And they are working their way into doing so, now within 8 runs. And again, right back up the middle, and an RBI single for Rhodey.
You hear this phrase a lot about not trying to do too much, but this inning seems to be the product of that phrase and sticking to the process, not trying to go up there and hit the grand slam, but just take what the game is giving you. And for Ariana Rhodey, gets a pitch that she can handle, hits it straight back up the middle, and now all of a sudden, it seems like in the blink of an eye, South Carolina's put up a 3 spot in the top of the 5th.
Well, you go back to Abigail Knight, who led off the inning with a single. Then we saw a couple of free passes in this inning. And then the top of the order, you flip it back, and you've seen 3 straight batters drive in runs. And the folks out of Columbia want to see this come back. And even if they don't walk out of here with a win, they've got to feel good carrying over, to your point, Madison, about the rest of the week.
Absolutely, because right now it feels like South Carolina is the team with all of the momentum, and they've been able to make the adjustments. They've been able to put some runs on the scoreboard, even with an 11-run deficit coming into this 5th inning.
LaChancy now has a chance to try to extend this game.
She had a hard base hit out to right field back in the 2nd inning. One of those drop balls away.
And this one softly backhanded by Coffey, the throw in time, and that does it. LSU holds on.